in 5 years' time, what do you think Ngāpuhi could look like or should look like? Your aspirations.
Whātai pai tērā. Like, to me, there is, and this is absolutely a space I've found in the last 5 to 10 years, the potential and the opportunity, and particularly looking at rangatahi and even the way that I suppose mum is operating at mahi, allowing younger leadership to come through. To me, that's the aspiration for me, particularly allowing space for that to grow and you get new perspectives, new ideas. And so for the next kind of 5 years, that's what I would like to see kind of grow, and particularly kaupapa like this, where we are connecting perhaps disconnected or disenfranchised whānau to their hakapapa, and then strengthening that, perhaps coming home, but actually just strengthening those bonds, and seeing, I guess, ngā hua kua puta mai, particularly in the last kind of 20 years, you see so many young Māori rangatahi leaders growing into this space of, I suppose, thriving, and that becomes very kind of present in the different things that we see in media and exposure internationally. So I think for Ngāpuhi, for me, because we are so large in number, would be to see that potential fulfilled, or at least moving closer to that, for sure.
Thinking on that same kaupapa, so coming on into that rangatahi, that space, being given that space, how would you participate in that?
It's interesting to think of myself as not really a rangatahi anymore. Like, I feel like probably still in that category, but I'm probably like at the later end of that category. And so I'm kind of like where I am now. So kia koutou, kare e te tino mohi o ki au. My work is within the architecture field. So architecture design as a graduate architect. And so I think in this space, there is still a lot of learning to happen, and I think I've had a little bit of experience in that now, and even in other areas. I think for me personally, it would be about being an example for those younger ones coming through. And if I'm just to speak about my particular field, I can see the potential there as well. And what's happened is that not a lot of Māori have tended to go in the architectural route, and so I think there is potential there in that. Us as Māori and rangatahi Māori are inherently creative beings, and that's the opportunity, at least in this, wāhi mahi. So, we are here in Te Māhure Marae. We're right in front of Te Taumata Kupe, which is one of the amazing buildings that's been built in the last kind of 2 to 3 years. And visually you see the presence that it holds. And so that, for me, is the opportunity for a lot of these young Māori who are wanting to get into this particular field as well. We have so much potential.
And that's so true, so much potential. Hei whakakapia ki ia tāua kōrero tēnei pātai. So Ngāpuhi Iwi Social Services wants Ngāpuhi mokopuna to be safe, secure, healthy, connected to whakapapa. What do you think are some important activities for NIS to do and to support tamariki mokopuna from Ngāpuhi?
And I was just earlier on, I was reading the kind of prompts and the pātai and seeing the post-it notes, and one of them said, what was it? More events like this. And then I kind of copied it and was like, yeah, more events like this, and added it to their post-it. But I think things like this, particularly for around the country, where we're trying to bring together a lot of our different whānau and then the youth as well. I think these kaupapa are amazing to me, looking at it from the outside. And then I think the continuity and the consistency of those things, and trying to, I guess, foster a lot of our whānau who have been disconnected, and particularly our youth. I think that's where it begins, and we see a lot of the, particularly in the future, things that either go positively or negatively. A lot of those start, i roto i te kāinga, and us understanding who we are, our identity as Māori, for sure. And so for me, it would be about just continuing to build on these different kaupapa, and then allowing our younger voices to grow.
70% of Ngāpuhi are under the age of 27. How would you suggest to engage with those 27 unders?
See, I'm not even in that category anymore.
Nor am I.
But I think especially like, and we do in Ngāpuhi, like in our particular iwi, we have a lot of younger leaders too who are kind of on the edge or even within that age group. And I think there is such a thing, if I'm just thinking about social media, but as in influencers creating that, I guess, intrigue or that exposure and getting younger Māori interested, or even aware of what's happening and making those comms quite strong. I think that's one mechanism, which is it's not a a typical traditional one, but it's one that's actually quite powerful this day and age for those age groups. And then I think it's about when that does happen and when these kaupapa happen, allowing space for them to hear their ideas and to, I guess, build upon what those could look like as well in the future.
Awesome. And so flipping the switch, 27 plus. I know there's quite a few different generations now. If we think about our kaumātua queer and, of course, the 80 pluses, then there's probably 90 plus as well. But in terms of how could we engage with them as well?
And I think there is, like, in terms of our pakeke, there's still a lot of learning that, we will undoubtedly get from them. I think there is still, I think we have to find the way to, and we kind of do it naturally when we're at home, but for those who aren't there, I guess, understanding how to foster a lot of those that mātauranga per se, or that kōrero tuku iho, and even I think about projects that I've been connected to, things like attaining whakapapa o kōrero tuku iho in such a way, but not necessarily, because there's this, I think, danger where you can gather a lot of those really sacred, knowledge bases, but then how do you safely allow people to learn in those, and things like kurahuna and different ways of actually attaining that information or that knowledge, that whakapapa. I think that's very strongly held by our pakeke, and then I guess it's the transition from having it just held within those particular kaumātua and kuia, and then the transmission, I guess, of that knowledge to our youth. There's so many ways that we can do it in this kind of future state, but in a safe way, I suppose.
Kia ora. E mihi marikana kia koe. And I know I said it was the last question before, but that is really the last question. But e mihi marikana kia koe I whai wāhi kia whai wā, actually te noho mai ki taku tahi te rangi nei, me te whāngai mai I au whakaaro, au kōrero I te rangi nei. Nō reira, thank you for sharing your whakaaro. We are very blessed. Te hopu I ēnei kōrero. Nō reira, mihi marikana kia koe.
Tēnā koe.